In video 3 of this series we're going to look at SQL Workbench. SQL Workbench allows you to execute more than one SQL query at once, so that's going to save you a lot of time. It also allows you to save your work and open your work and run it. We're also going to look at drop table statements. Drop table, if a table exists we can delete it and recreate it. We're going to show you BEAUTIFY SQL inside the SQL Workbench, and then we've got some group by functions here, the sum function to total a numeric column, the average function which averages a numeric column, and how to use group by. And we're going to be setting up a table which looks a bit like this, automatically all in one SQL script which can save and execute all in one go. So we're going to create the table with these data types, and we're going to insert all the rows, not just these 3 rows but all of the rows of the table, lots of it, and do that all in one script. So from last time I'm logging in with my password Fred, and I'm going to do use database 1 and show tables, and I've only got one table in there which is runners. Now if you think about it, I've executed two commands in the MySQL editor and it's output the tables. If I try that in SQL Workbench, here's SQL Workbench, and I'm going to try logging in. Let's put the password in, that makes the connection, and it's got this query 1 thing here. I can type in use database 1, and on a new line I'm going to type show tables, and without even saving this I'm just going to run it. So query execute all, and it says tables in database 1 runners, and down the bottom it's ticked it as green as showing it actually worked fine, there's no errors. So I'm going to go file, open SQL script and get employees. This is something I've been working on already, and you can see if I zoom in, I've got use database 1. We're going to drop an existing employees table if there's one in the database. You might say, why on earth do that if you just want to create data and add to the data? Surely you'd never do that. Well, somebody else might have been on this computer and made changes to the employees table that I wanted to keep. But I want to actually start again, so I'm going to actually assume if there is an existing employees table, it's somebody else's, and I'm going to get rid of it and overwrite it with mine. So we're going to do create table employees. Here are the open brackets here, and then all the column names and data types, then close brackets, then end of statement is the semicolon. So if you look, employee ID I set as an integer data type. It's a primary space key, which makes sure there's no duplicates and makes sure there's no nulls in that column, and it's set to auto increment. Then there's a comma, and then the next column, surname, varchar 15 characters, not null, because I'm going to make sure that you have to have a surname in the database, otherwise it's a waste of time having it in the first place. Email is going to be varchar 30 to allow long email addresses. Mobile is going to be varchar 15, department is varchar 15, and salary is an integer. And we're going to use the salary to do all the clever maths on the salary column later on. And then I've got this one insert statement, insert into employees, values, the 100, Smith in single quotes because it's varchar, there's John Smith's email address. Null is the keyword for no data. Mobile number is going to be null in this case. Sales is Mr. Smith's department, and salary is that. So this relates to this structure. We've got Smith, his email address, sales, he hasn't got a mobile number because he doesn't have a mobile phone or he's lost it, and that's his salary. I haven't bothered doing forename, and let's try this and see. So if we do query execute query, it seems to be quite happy with this. It doesn't know about an employees table, so there isn't an existing one, but apart from that it's executed all the SQL. And if we go back to the command line client, it feels quite a lot slower typing each command in one at a time. Now we've got an employees table, and we can do select star from employees, and it's showing that, and we can do describe employees. That shows the table structure, and it also shows that employee ID is a primary key which allows auto increment. As you can see, I set up surname to not allow null values, so null is switched off for that, but it allows blank values for all the other columns. So surname has to be filled in. If you did an insert statement without a surname, it would error, because it's validation to make sure each employee in the database has to have a surname if they're given a salary, which to me makes logical sense. So I've been working further on this employees file, and I've now put in lots of insert statements. Again, I've left it so it's deleting the existing table I've just created, and it's recreating it here as an empty table. Then it's inserting the first row, which is employee 100. Then it's setting up all these employees with different surnames, different email addresses and mobiles, different departments, different salaries, and I'm using the default keyword to make use of the auto increment feature of the primary key field. Employee ID is an integer. Because it's a primary key, I've allowed it to auto increment. So if we start at 100, this one will be 101, this one will be 102. As long as you type default, it knows what the next number in the sequence is, and it automatically puts that in the insert statement. So I'm going to finally do select everything from employees, and let's run this query execute all. And now all of those statements, all of those insert statements, the create table statement and even the select everything from employees have executed. We've got lots of green down the bottom showing there's no errors, and this is the employees that I've set up all in one go. And it's highlighted the null values, the missing values, where I haven't wanted any data in those columns. All of the surnames are in and all of the salaries are in. So that's worked. Now at this stage I'm going to be very good, and I'm going to save this script. File, save script as. I've already been working on it here, so I'm going to save over it, save and replace, and basically that's my work, which I can recreate. And if anybody else uses this computer and deletes the employees table, this script will automatically recreate it to that point. So it's a very good way of saving your work and having your work available. It goes without saying that in real life the security is a really massive issue. So what happens with SQL databases is they sit on web servers, and there's a secure layer of passwording with usernames and passwords to make sure any connections which are incoming are actually connecting properly to the database without being able to drop tables or delete databases, and everything's kept secure like that. So here you've got the web server hosting the SQL database on the internet, and all the clients around the world, all the users around the world being able to connect to that one server without being able to mess up the data. So just as a recap then, we said that SQL Workbench is very efficient for saving and loading SQL files to allow you to execute more than one script at once. We've created this table, and we did the create table statements and all the insert statements and even a select statement all in one go. If we do select star from employees now, there they all are, and that relates exactly to the table structure we've been trying to achieve. So before we do anything else, I'm going to highlight all my script and do edit, format, and I'm going to do uppercase keywords. You can basically do that, and then if we do beautify query, that allows things to be opened up and closed up. You can just use it to manage your code better. So it's a good way of going just to make your SQL more easy to read. So if I was the manager of this company, I would want to know how much the total salary is each year. So let's try that. Select sum, open brackets, salary from employees, and that's the total salary. I don't like the column heading here though, sum salary, so I can put an alias on that. If I do the up arrow and put an as statement in here, as single quotes total salary from employees, and now it's put a better header on that column. That's the total salary. So it's not rocket science to work out how to do the average salary using this one. Select average salary from employees, and again if we want an alias we can do as, and it's working out the average, and we can round that to 2 decimal places, using a round function. Round average salary, comma, 2 decimal places, close brackets. And this is a nice picture of a mountain. Actually, it does have a point to it. You can see that there are layers in the rock. So what happens if you wanted, instead of just all of it showing the average salary of everything, what happens if you wanted to find the average salary in each department? Well, you have this idea of having stratas in the data, or stratification, or layers in the data. We want to group by department. So we want the average salary grouped by department. If we do select star from employees and show all the salaries, you can see the departments here, and there's quite a few people in sales and marketing and so on. So if we wanted to group the salaries and find the average salary in each department, it would be something like this. Select average salary department from employees, and then we're going to group by department, and that puts the layer in the rock. And you can see it's done it. We've got the department names and the average salary. So if I tidy this up, I'm going to round the average salary to 2 decimal places, comma, 2 close brackets, and I'm going to do as average, let's do an alias here, average salary by department. And if I try that now, it's worked. And as I'm fussy, the last thing I want to do is order it by average salary. So I want to get, let's have the biggest first. So we can do order by round AVG salary, comma, 2, and DESC will give you biggest at the top, smallest at the bottom. And that's done that. So there's the average salary by department. Management, they take all the big salaries. Sales, marketing, manufacturing and IT support is a lowly bottom of the pile. And that shows how to do a group by function, giving the idea of stratas of the data, or layers in the data, stratification. There are lots of websites to get help on SQL, and w3schools.com do a brilliant tutorial on SQL, and you can try different things. So select star from customers, run the SQL, and it pulls data, and you can do where country equals UK, and you can try and test out your SQL skills. I wanted to put a pound sign on what I've just completed, and so I looked up how to do that and found that the CONCAT keyword allows you to do that. So if I press enter, it adds the extra pound sign on. If I want a gap between the pound sign, I can put a gap there and run it again, and it puts the gap in. So you can carry on learning more and more SQL and extra functions and features that it can do.